HOA Karen calls 911 and tries to arrest a black woman, unaware her husband is a chief judge. In the heart of America, where picket fences line manicured lawns and neighbors wave cheerfully from their porches, a storm is brewing. It's April 12, 2024, in Fresno, Ohio, a day that will forever change the fabric of this seemingly idyllic community. Imagine, if you will, the sound of laughter echoing through the air on a warm spring afternoon. A family gathering, filled with joy and camaraderie. But in this quiet suburban enclave, that laughter becomes more than just a sign of happiness. It becomes a catalyst for a confrontation that will expose the raw underbelly of racial tensions simmering beneath the surface of American life. On this day, a simple act of merriment will collide head-on with deeply entrenched prejudices, igniting a powder keg of emotions and setting in motion a chain of events that will leave an indelible mark on all involved. As the sun sets on Fresno, Ohio, no one could have predicted how a casual family get-together would escalate into a battle for dignity, justice, and the very essence of what it means to belong. This is not just a story of one incident, but a mirror held up to society, reflecting the uncomfortable truths we often choose to ignore. It's a tale that forces us to confront our biases, question our assumptions, and reckon with the power dynamics that shape our communities. As we unravel the events of this fateful day, we'll witness how a single phone call to 911 can become a weapon, how the misuse of authority can threaten the very fabric of neighborly trust, and how courage in the face of injustice can come from the most unexpected places. But perhaps most importantly, this story will challenge us to ask ourselves, in a nation that prides itself on equality and justice for all, how far have we really come? And what price are we willing to pay to protect the rights and dignity of every citizen, regardless of the color of their skin? Join us as we peel back the layers of this complex and deeply human story, a story that begins with laughter but ends with a community forever changed, and a nation forced to confront its deepest held beliefs about race, power, and the true meaning of justice. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from in the comment section, and don't forget to like, comment, and hit the subscribe button for more of these gripping stories. Our story begins with the Johnson family, a vibrant and accomplished black household who recently moved to Fresno, Ohio. Dr. Amelia Johnson, a respected pediatrician, her husband Marcus, a successful software engineer, and their two children, 12-year-old Zoe and 8-year-old Tyler, had dreams of a peaceful suburban life. The Johnsons chose Fresno for its highly rated schools and the promise of a diverse community. They purchased a beautiful two-story home in the Oak Ridge subdivision, a predominantly white neighborhood known for its manicured lawns and quiet streets. Despite some initial hesitation, the family was determined to make this their home. Fresno, Ohio, a small city with a population of just over 30,000, has historically been a predominantly white community. The Oak Ridge subdivision, in particular, stands out with its large homes, community pool, and active homeowners association, HOA. The HOA, led by a board of longtime residents, prides itself on maintaining property values and enforcing strict community guidelines. Enter Susan Whitaker, known to her neighbors as Karen. A middle-aged woman with an immaculate blonde bob and a penchant for pastel cardigans, Susan has lived in Oak Ridge for over 2 decades. She's made it her mission to preserve the character of the neighborhood, often reporting minor infractions to the HOA and confronting new residents about community rules. From the day the Johnsons moved in, they faced subtle forms of racism and microaggressions. Neighbors would cross the street when Marcus went for his morning jog, and Zoe overheard classmates whispering about her hair. At HOA meetings, the Johnsons' suggestions for community improvements were often dismissed or ignored. Despite these challenges, the Johnsons remained resilient. They continued to participate in community events, with Amelia volunteering at the local health fair and Marcus coaching Tyler's Little League team. Their home became known for its beautiful garden, tended lovingly by the whole family. On a warm Saturday afternoon in April, the Johnsons hosted a family reunion to celebrate Amelia's recent promotion. The backyard was filled with the sounds of laughter, music, and the delicious aroma of barbecue. Children played on the carefully maintained lawn while adults chatted and danced. As the party continued into the early evening, Susan Whitaker became increasingly agitated. She paced in front of her window, phone in hand, muttering about noise violations and property values. The joyful sounds of the Johnson family's celebration seemed to grate on her nerves, her face growing redder with each burst of laughter. How will this seemingly innocent family gathering escalate into a confrontation that threatens to tear the community apart? The Johnson family's backyard celebration was in full swing when Susan Whitaker, or Karen as she would later be dubbed online, decided she had had enough. Fueled by irritation, and possibly alcohol, she stormed across the neatly trimmed lawn toward the Johnsons' home. Her steps were heavy, her face flushed with anger, and her phone gripped tightly in one hand. She pounded on the door with the other, her knocks echoing over the laughter and music. When Dr. Amelia Johnson opened the door, she was greeted by Susan's sharp tone and accusatory words. "You people are being too loud. This is a quiet neighborhood, and you're disturbing everyone," Susan declared. Amelia, maintaining her composure, calmly responded, "We're on our property, having a family gathering. It's not even quiet hours. I don't see how this is a problem." But Susan wasn't satisfied. "I'm a criminal defense attorney," she claimed, slurring slightly. "I know the law, and you're breaking it." Amelia raised an eyebrow at this assertion. "Ma'am," she said firmly, "you're trespassing on my property right now. Please step back." As the exchange grew heated, members of Amelia's family began to gather at the door to see what was going on. Marcus Johnson joined his wife, standing protectively by her side. Their teenage daughter Zoe peeked out from behind them, confused and concerned. Susan's claims became more erratic. She accused the family of hosting an illegal party and shouted that someone was about to call 911 if they didn't quiet down immediately. The Johnsons' relatives started to voice their frustration at Susan's behavior, pointing out that they were well within their rights to enjoy themselves on their own property. The argument escalated as Susan refused to leave and continued to hurl baseless accusations at the family. At one point, she attempted to push past Amelia into the house, prompting Marcus to step forward and block her path. "You need to leave now," he said firmly. Frustrated and unwilling to back down, Susan pulled out her phone and dialed 911. On the call, she falsely claimed that there was a dangerous disturbance at the Johnsons' address and alleged that the family was being aggressive toward her. Her voice was frantic as she described an exaggerated scene of chaos that didn't exist. This moment highlighted a troubling reality: the misuse of emergency services as a weapon against Black individuals can have dangerous consequences. The Johnsons were acutely aware of how these situations could escalate when law enforcement arrived. Inside their home, Amelia quickly gathered documents proving their ownership of the property while Marcus instructed everyone to remain calm and cooperative when the police arrived. Minutes later, 2 police cars pulled up outside the Johnsons' home. Officers approached cautiously but without drawing weapons, a small relief for the family given the potential dangers of such encounters. Susan immediately rushed toward them, speaking loudly about how she had been threatened by an unruly group at the house. The officers listened, but then turned their attention to Amelia and Marcus, who calmly presented proof of their residency and explained what had happened. The officers reviewed the situation carefully. They noted that there was no evidence of any illegal activity or disturbance beyond normal family laughter and music during daylight hours. One officer gently told Susan that there was no basis for her complaint and advised her to return home. Before leaving, one officer apologized to the Johnsons for the inconvenience but reminded them of how these situations could escalate dangerously due to false reports like this one. With tensions high and emotions raw, how will this racially charged confrontation be resolved? And what unexpected twists will reveal deeper truths about justice and accountability in this community? As the police officers left the scene without taking action against the Johnsons, a palpable sense of relief washed over the family. However, this relief was quickly overshadowed by the realization of what they had just endured. The officers' decision to leave without incident was a small victory, but it did little to erase the trauma of the confrontation. Word of the incident spread rapidly through the Oak Ridge subdivision. Neighbors who had witnessed the commotion began to share their accounts, and soon, the entire community was abuzz with discussion. Many expressed shock and dismay at Susan Whitaker's actions, while others grappled with the uncomfortable realization of the racial tensions lurking beneath their seemingly peaceful neighborhood. Within hours, video clips of the confrontation, captured by bystanders and the Johnsons' guests, began circulating on social media platforms. The hashtag Fresno Karen started trending locally, then nationally, as the incident gained traction online. The viral nature of the story brought unwanted attention to Oak Ridge and Fresno at large, forcing residents to confront the reality of racial profiling in their community. In a twist that Susan Whitaker couldn't have anticipated, it was revealed that Marcus Johnson, Amelia's husband, was a recently appointed chief judge in the Fresno County Superior Court. This revelation added a new layer of complexity to the situation and ensured that the incident would not be easily dismissed or swept under the rug. Following a thorough investigation, the Fresno County District Attorney's Office decided to press charges against Susan Whitaker for false reporting of an emergency. Under California law, knowingly making a false report to emergency services is a misdemeanor offense, punishable by up to 6 months in county jail and a fine of up to $1,000. The case against Whitaker served as a stark reminder of the serious consequences of misusing emergency services, especially when motivated by racial bias. Legal experts pointed out that such actions not only waste valuable resources but also put innocent lives at risk, particularly those of people of color who may face dangerous confrontations with law enforcement due to false reports. In the days following the incident, an outpouring of support for the Johnson family emerged from within Oak Ridge and the broader Fresno community. Neighbors organized a solidarity barbecue, deliberately echoing the joyful gathering that had been so rudely interrupted. Many residents placed signs in their yards reading "Hate has no home here" and "Black families belong." The Oak Ridge HOA board, under intense scrutiny, initiated a series of community dialogues on race and inclusion. They partnered with local civil rights organizations to provide implicit bias training for all HOA members and security personnel. The board also revised its bylaws to explicitly prohibit racial profiling and established a diverse community relations committee to address residents' concerns. Fresno's City Council responded by launching a comprehensive review of police protocols for responding to non-emergency calls, with a focus on identifying and mitigating potential racial bias. The police department announced enhanced training programs for officers on de-escalation techniques and cultural sensitivity. The Fresno Karen incident became a catalyst for broader conversations about racial profiling and the insidious nature of everyday racism. It sparked discussions in workplaces, schools, and community centers across Fresno and beyond, encouraging people to examine their own biases and behaviors. The Johnson family, despite the trauma they endured, chose to channel their experience into positive action. Amelia and Marcus became vocal advocates for racial justice, speaking at community events and working with local organizations to promote understanding and equality. Their children, Zoe and Tyler, started a youth group at their school focused on celebrating diversity and combating discrimination. At the state level, the incident contributed to the momentum behind a proposed bill in the California legislature aimed at criminalizing discriminatory 911 calls. The bill, if passed, would allow victims of such calls to sue the callers in civil court, providing a new avenue for accountability and deterrence. How will this community heal from this divisive incident, and what lessons can be learned to prevent future racial confrontations? As we conclude this powerful story of confrontation, resilience, and community transformation, it's crucial that we, as viewers, take a moment to reflect on our own roles in shaping a more just and equitable society. First and foremost, we urge you to examine your own biases and assumptions. Racism often operates in subtle ways, and it's our responsibility to recognize and challenge our own prejudices. Consider taking an implicit bias test or participating in diversity and inclusion workshops in your area. If you witness or experience racial discrimination, it's important to speak up and report it. We've provided links in the description below to resources such as the NAACP, the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, and local civil rights organizations that can offer guidance and support. We encourage you to actively support initiatives promoting racial equality in your communities. This could mean attending city council meetings, joining local advocacy groups, or volunteering with organizations that work towards social justice. Every action, no matter how small, contributes to creating a more inclusive society. The story of the Johnson family and the Oak Ridge community serves as a powerful reminder of the strength that comes from standing up against injustice. Dr. Amelia Johnson's calm resolve in the face of blatant discrimination and the family's decision to use their experience as a catalyst for positive change exemplify the courage needed to confront racism in all its forms. Moreover, the response of the Oak Ridge community highlights the crucial role of solidarity in combating racism. When neighbors came together to support the Johnsons and demand change, they demonstrated that community bonds can be a powerful force against discrimination. However, it's important to recognize that the work of creating truly inclusive neighborhoods is ongoing. The changes implemented in Fresno are just the beginning. True transformation requires sustained effort, open dialogue, and a commitment to justice from all members of a community. As we move forward, let us carry the lessons learned from this incident with us. Let us strive to create communities where diversity is celebrated, where every resident feels safe and valued, and where the sound of laughter from a family gathering is met with joy rather than suspicion. Remember, the path to racial equality is not a sprint, but a marathon. It requires persistence, empathy, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. But with each step we take together, we move closer to a world where incidents like the one in Fresno become relics of the past rather than headlines of the present. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope this story has inspired you to be an active participant in creating a more just and equitable world. The power to make a difference lies within each of us. Let's use it wisely and compassionately. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more.